Chapter 5, Determination and Steadiness in Yoga. Yatha Deepo Nivatastho Nen Gate Sopama Smrita Yogino Yata Chitasya Yujunto Yogam Atmanha. As a lamp in a windless place does not waver, so the transcendentalist whose mind is controlled remain always steady in his meditation on the transcendental self. If the mind is absorbed in Krishna consciousness, it will remain as steady as the flame of a candle that is in a room where there is no wind. Therefore, it is said that a truly Krishna conscious person, always absorbed in transcendence, in constant undisturbed meditation on his worshipful Lord, is as steady as a lamp or a candle in a windless place. Just as the flame is not agitated, the mind is not agitated, and that steadiness is the perfection of yoga. The state of one's thus steadily situated in meditation on transcendental self for the Supreme Lord is described by Sri Krishna in the following verse of the Bhagavad Gita. I am not going to read this Sanskrit. So, the stage of perfection is called trance or samadhi when one's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities by practice of yoga. This is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind and to relish and rejoice in the self. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness and enjoy himself through transcendental senses. Established thus, one never departs from the truth, and upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even in the midst of greatest difficulty. This indeed is actual freedom from all the miseries arising from the material contact. Samadhi does not mean making oneself void or merging into the void. This is impossible. Kalesho diktaras, tesham avyaktya sakta chetsam. Some yogis say that one has to put an end to all activities and make himself motionless. But how is this possible? By nature, the living entity is a moving, acting spirit. Motionless means putting an end to material motion and being fixed in Krishna consciousness. In such a state, one is no longer disturbed by material propensities. As one becomes materially motionless, one's movement in Krishna consciousness is where increases. As one becomes active in Krishna consciousness, one becomes automatically motionless in respect to material activities. I have often used the example of a restless child. Since it is impossible to make such a child motionless, it is necessary to give him some playthings or some picture to look at. In this way, he will be engaged, or motionless in the sense that he will not be committing some mischief. But if one really wants to make him motionless, one must give him some engagement in Krishna consciousness. Then there will be no scope for mischievous activities due to realization in Krishna consciousness. To be engaged in Krishna consciousness, one should first realize I am Krishna's, I am not this matter. I am not of this nation or of this society. I do not belong to this rascal or that rascal. I am simply Krishna's. This is motionless. This is full knowledge. Realizing our actual position as a part and parcel of Krishna, as stated in the 15th chapter, Mamivemsu Jiva Loke. The living entities in this conditioned world are maternal fragmental parts. As soon as we understand this, we immediately cease our material activities. And this is what is meant by being motionless. In this state, one sees the self by the pure mind and relish and rejoice in the self. Pure mind means understanding I belong to Krishna. At the present moment, the mind is contaminated because we are thinking I belong to this, I belong to that. The mind is pure when it is understand I belong to Krishna. Rejoicing in the self means rejoicing with Krishna. Krishna is the super soul or the supreme self. I am the individual soul, so the individual self. The supreme self and the self enjoy together. Enjoyment cannot be done alone. There must be a two. What experience do we have of solitary enjoyment? Solitary enjoyment is not possible. Enjoyment means two. Krishna, who is the super soul and the individual soul. If one is convinced that I am the part and parcel of Krishna, one is not disturbed even in the midst of the greatest difficulties, because one knows that Krishna will give protection. That is surrender. To attain this position, one must try his best, use his intelligence, and believe in Krishna. Balasyennaha Sharanam Pitarau Narsimha. If Krishna does not protect us, nothing can save us. If Krishna neglects us, there is no remedy. And whatever measures we take to try to protect ourselves will be ultimately defeated. There may be many expert physicians treating a diseased man, but that is no guarantee that he will live. If Krishna so wills, a person will die despite the best physician and medicine. On the other hand, if Krishna is protecting us, we will survive even without medical treatment. When one is fully surrendered to Krishna, he becomes happy, knowing that regardless of the situation, Krishna will protect him. He is just like a child who is fully surrendered to his parents, confident that they are to protect him. As stated by Yamunacharya in his Strotra Ratna, Kada aham akintika nitya kinkara Praharsyasyamin sanatana jivatam. O Lord, when shall I engage as your permanent eternal servant and always be joyful to have such a perfect master? If we know that there is someone very powerful who is our patron and savior, are not we happy? But if we try to act on our own at our own risk, how can we be happy? Happiness means being in Krishna consciousness and being convinced that Krishna will give me protection and being true to Krishna, it is not possible to be happy otherwise. Of course, Krishna is giving all living entity protection even in their rebellious conditions. Eko bahunam yo vidadati kamnam. Without Krishna protection, we cannot live for a second. When we admit and recognize Krishna kindness, we become happy. Krishna is protecting us at every moment, but we do not realize this because we have taken life at our own risk. Krishna gives us a certain amount of freedom, saying, Alright, do whatever you like. As far as possible, I will give you protection. However, when the living entity is fully surrendered to Krishna, Krishna takes total charge and gives special protection. If a child grows up and does not care for his father and act freely, what can his father do? He can only say, Do whatever you like. But when a son puts himself fully under his father's protection, he receives more care. As Krishna says in the ninth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Samoham Sarva Bhuteshu ना मे देवश्योस्ति ना प्रिया ये भजन्ति तू माम भक्त्या माई ते तेषु चापि aham. I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to all, but whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend as in me, and I am also friend to him. How can Krishna be envious of anyone? Everyone is Krishna's son. Similarly, how can Krishna be an enemy towards anyone? Since all living entities are Krishna's son, he is everyone's friend. Unfortunately, we are not taking advantage of his friendship, and that is our disease. Once we recognize Krishna as our eternal Father and friend, we can understand he is always protecting us. In this way, we can be happy. Sa nischena yuktavyo yogo nirvana chetsa संकल्प प्रभावन काममास त्यक्त्वा शर्वन एषस्ता मनासव इंद्रियागरमामम विनियामया samantah. One should engage oneself in the practice of yoga with undividing determination and faith. One should abandon without exception our material desire born of false ego and thus control all the senses on all the sides by the mind. As stated before, this determination can be attained only by one who does not indulge in sex. Celibacy makes one determination strong. Therefore, from the very beginning, Krishna states that the yogi does not engage in sex. If one indulges in S, one's determination will be figuring. Therefore, S life should be controlled according to the rules and regulation governing the Grastha ashram. Or sex should be given up altogether. Actually, it should be given up altogether, but if this is not possible, it should be controlled. Then determination will come because, after all, determination is a bodily affair. Determination means continuing to practice Krishna consciousness with patience and perseverance. If one does not immediately attain the desired result, one should not think, oh, what is this Krishna consciousness? I will give it up. Now, no, we must have determination and faith in Krishna words. In this regard, there is a mundane example. When a young girl gets married, she immediately hankers for a child. She thinks, now I am married, I must have a child immediately. But how is this possible? The girl must have patience, become faithful life, and serve her husband, and let her love grow. Eventually, because she is married, it is certain that she will have a child. Similarly, when we are Krishna consciousness, our perfection is guaranteed. But we must have patience and determination. We should think, I must execute my duties and should not be impatient. Impatience is due to the loss of determination, and loss of determination is due to the excessive sex. The yogi should be determined and should patiently prosecute Krishna consciousness without diversion. One should be sure of success at the end and pursue this course with great perseverance, not becoming discouraged. If there is any delay in the attainment of success, success is sure for the rigid practitioner. Regarding the Bhakti Yoga, Rupa Goswami says, Utsaha nischyad dharyat तत कर्मा परवंतत संगत्यागत सतो व्रता सद्भीर भक्ति prasadhyati. The process of bhakti yoga can be executed successfully with a full hearted enthusiasm, perseverance, and determination by following the prescribed duties in the session of the devotees and by engaging completely in the activities of goodness. As far as for determination, one should follow the example of the sparrow who lost her eggs in the waves of the ocean. A sparrow laid her eggs on the shore of the ocean, but the big ocean carried away the eggs on its wave. The sparrow became very upset and asked the ocean to return her eggs. The ocean did not even consider her appeal, so the sparrow decided to dry up the ocean. She began to pick out the water in her small beak, and everyone laughed at her for her impossible determination. The news of her activity spread, and when at last Garud, the genetic bird carrier of Lord Vishnu, heard it, it became compassionate towards his small sister bird. So he came to see her. Garud was very pleased by the determination of the small sparrow, and he promised to help. Thus Garud at once asked the ocean to return her eggs, lest he himself take up the work of the sparrow. The ocean was frightened by this and returned the egg. Thus the sparrow became happy by the grace of Garud. Similarly, the practice of yoga, especially bhakti yoga and Krishna consciousness, may appear to be a very difficult job. But if anyone follow the principle with great determination, the Lord will surely help, for God help those who help themselves. सनेहे सनेर उपरामेद बुधाया धीरित घृत्या आत्मा समस्थपन मना कर्तवा ना किंचित अपि चिंतयत. Gradually, step by step, with full conviction, one should become situated in trance by means of intelligence, and thus the mind should be fixed on the self alone and should think of nothing else. We are the self, and Krishna is also the self. When there is sunlight, we can see the sun and ourselves also. However, when there is a dense darkness, or we sometimes cannot even see our own body, although the body is there, the darkness is so dense that I cannot see myself. But when the sunshine is present, I can see myself as well as the sun. Similarly, seeing the sun self means first of all seeing the Supreme Self, Krishna. In the Katha Upanishad, it is stated Nityo Nityanam Chetnas Chetnanam. The Supreme Self is the chief eternal of all the eternals, and He is the chief living being of all the living beings. Krishna consciousness means fixing the mind on Krishna. When the mind is thus fixed, it is fixed on the complete whole. If the stomach is cared for and supplied nutritious food, all the bodily limbs are nourished and we are in good health. Similarly, if we water the root of a tree, all the branches, leaves, flowers, and twigs are automatically taken care of. By rendering service to Krishna, we automatically render the best service to all others. As stated before, Krishna consciousness person does not sit down idly. He knows that Krishna consciousness is such an important philosophy that it should be distributed. Therefore, the members of this Krishna consciousness society are not just sitting in the temple but are going out on Sankirtan parties, preaching and distributing this supreme philosophy. That is the mission of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his disciples. Other yogis may be satisfied with their own elevation and sit in secular places, practicing yoga. For them, yoga is nothing more than their personal concern. A devotee, however, is not satisfied just in elevation his personal self. वंशा कल्पतारु भयश्च कृपा सिंधु भय एव च पतितनम पावन भयो वैष्णव भयो नमो नमः. I offer my respectful obeisance to all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desired trees, and who are full of compassion for the fallen souls. A devotee displays great compassion toward conditioned souls. The word Karpa means mercy, and Sindhu means ocean. A devotee is the ocean of the mercy, and he naturally wants to distribute this mercy. Lord Jesus Christ, for instance, was God conscious, Krishna consciousness, but he was not satisfied in keeping this knowledge within himself. Had he continued to live alone in God consciousness, he would not he would not have met crucifixion. But no, being a devotee and naturally compassionate, he also wanted to take care of others by making them God conscious. Although he was forbidden to preach God consciousness, he continued to do so at the risk of his own life. This is the nature of the devotee. It is therefore stated in the Bhagavad Gita that the devotee who preaches is the most dear to the Lord. Ye idam paramam guhyam mad bhakteshu abhidhesyati bhaktim mai param gartva mam evashyati asmasya. For one who explains this supreme secret to the devotees, devotional service is guaranteed. At the end, he will come back to me. ना चातस्मान मनेषु कश्चिन में प्रिया कर्तमः भाविता ना चा मे तस्माद अन्ये प्रियातरो भुवि. There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear. Therefore, the devotees go out to preach, and going forth, they sometimes meet opposing elements. Sometimes they are defeated, sometimes disappointed, sometimes able to convince, sometimes unable. It is not that every devotee is well equipped to preach. Just as there are different types of people, there are three classes of devotees. The third classes are those who have no faith. If they are engaged in devotion service officially for some ulterior purpose, they cannot achieve the highest perfection stage. Most probably, they will slip after some time. They may become engaged, but because they have not complete conviction and faith, it is very difficult for them to continue in Krishna consciousness. We have practical experience in discharging our missionary activity that some people come and apply themselves to Krishna consciousness with some hidden motive. As soon as they are economically a little well situated, they give up this process and take to their old ways again. It is only by faith that one can advance in Krishna consciousness. As far as the development of faith is concerned, one who is well versed in the literature of devotional service, he has attained the stage of firm faith, is called the first class person in the Krishna consciousness. And in the second class, there are those who are not very advanced in understanding the devotional scripture, but who automatically have firm faith that Krishna Bhakti or service to Krishna is the best course, and so in the good faith have taken it up. Thus, they are superior to the third class, who have neither perfect knowledge of the scripture nor good faith, but by association and simplicity are trying to follow. The third class person in Krishna consciousness may fall down, but when one is in the second class or first class, he does not fall down. One in the first class will surely make progress and achieve the result at the end. As far as the third class person in Krishna consciousness is concerned, although he has a faith in the conviction that devotion service to Krishna is very good, he has no knowledge of Krishna through scriptures like the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita. Sometimes these third class persons in Krishna consciousness have some tendency towards Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga. Sometimes they are disturbed, but as soon as the infection of Karma Yoga or Jnana Yoga is vanquished, they become second class or the first class person in Krishna consciousness. Faith in Krishna is also divided into three stages and described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. First class attachment, second class attachment, and the third class attachment is also explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam in the 11th canto. However, one is situated, one should have the determination to go out and preach Krishna consciousness. That endeavor should at least be there, and one who so attempts to preach render the best service to the Lord. Despite opposition, one should attempt to elevate people to the highest standard of self realization. One who has actually seen the truth, who is in the trance of self realization, cannot sit idly. He must come out. Ramanacharya, for instance, declared that the Hare Krishna Mahamantra publicly. He did not distribute to secret to some fee. Recently, an Indian yogi came to America to give some private mantra. But if a mantra has any power, why should it be private? If a mantra is powerful, why should it not publicly declare so that everyone can take advantage of it? We are saying that this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra can save everyone. We are therefore distributing it publicly free of charge. But in this way, people are so foolish that they are not prepared to accept it. Rather, they hanker after some secret mantra and therefore pay some yogi $35 or whatever for some private mantra. This is because people want to be cheated, but the devotees are preaching without charge, declaring in the streets, parks, and everywhere, here. Here is the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, come on, take it. But under the spell of Maya illusion, people are thinking, oh, this is not good. But if you charge something and bluff and cheat people, they will follow you. In this regard, there is a Hindi verse stating that in Kali Yuga is in such an abominable age that if one speaks the truth, people will come and beat him. But if one cheats, bluff, and lies, people will be bewildered and will like it and will accept it. If I say I am God, people will say, oh, here is Swamiji, here is God. In this age, people do not have sufficient brain to inquire, how have you become God? What are the symptoms of God? Do you have all the symptoms? Because people do not make such inquiries, they are cheated. Therefore, it is necessary to be fixed in Krishna consciousness of the self. It is necessary to be fixed in consciousness of the self. Unless one knows and understands the real self and super self, one will be cheated. Real yoga means understanding this process of self realization. यतो यतो निश्चलति मानस चंचलम अस्थिराम तथास्तथो नियामय तद आत्मनि एवावसाम नयत. From whatever and wherever the mind wanders due to his flickering and unsteady nature, one must strictly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the self. This is the real yogic process. If you are trying to concentrate your mind on Krishna, the mind is diverted, wandering to some cinema or wherever. You should withdraw the mind, thinking, oh, not there. Please here. This is yoga, not allowing the mind to wander from the Krishna. Very intense training is required to keep the mind fixed on Krishna while sitting in one place. This is very hard work indeed. If one is not so practiced and tries to imitate the process, he will surely be confused. Instead, we always have to engage ourselves in Krishna consciousness, devoting everything we do to for Krishna. Our usual activities should be molded that they are rendered for Krishna's sake. In this way, the mind will remain fixed on Krishna. As stated before, we should not try to sit down and stare at the tip of our nose. At the present moment, attempts to engage in that type of yoga are artificial. Rather, the recommended method is chanting loudly and hearing Hare Krishna. Then, even if the mind is diverted, it will be forced to concentrate on the sound vibration. Krishna. It is not necessary to withdraw the mind from everything. It will automatically be withdrawn because it will be concentrated on the sound vibration. If we hear an automobile pass, our attention is automatically diverted. Similarly, if we are constantly chanting Hare Krishna, our mind will automatically be fixed on Krishna, although we are accustomed to think of so many other things. The nature of the mind is flickering and unsteady, But a self realized yogi has to control the mind should not control him. At the present moment, the mind is controlling us. Go Dash. The mind is telling us, please, why not look at that beautiful girl? So we look at it. It says, why not drink that nice liquor? And we say, yes. It says, why not smoke this cigarette? Yes. We say, why not go to the restaurant for such palatable food? Why not do this? Why not do that? In this way, the mind is dictating and we are following. Material life means being controlled by the senses or the mind, which is the center of all the senses. Being controlled by the mind means being controlled by the senses because senses are the mind's assistant. The mastermind dictates, go see that, and the eyes following the direction of the mind. Look at the sense object. The mind tells us to go to certain place, and the legs under the mind directions carry us there. Thus, being under the direction of the mind means coming under the control of the senses. If we can control the mind, we will not be under the control of the senses. One who is under the control of the senses is called Godas. The word Go means senses and Das means servant. One who is the master of the senses is called Goswami because Swami means master. Therefore, one who has the title Goswami as one who has mastered the senses. As long as one servant of the senses, he cannot be a Goswami or Swami. Unless one masters the senses, his acceptance of the title Swami or Goswami is just a form of cheating. It was Rupa Goswami who has thus defined the meaning of the word Goswami. Originally, Sanatan Goswami and Rup Goswami were not Goswamis but were government ministers. It was only when they become disciple of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that they become Goswamis. So, Goswamis is not a hereditary title but a qualification. One becomes so qualified under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master only when one has attained perfection in sense control can he be called a Goswami and become spiritual master in his turn. Unless one can master the senses, he will simply be a bogus spiritual master. This is explained by Rupa Goswami in his Updeshmrita. वाचो वेगम मनसा क्रोध वेगम जीव वेगम उदाफुरस्ता वेगम एतान वेगन यो विषहेताधिरः सर्वम अपि माम पृथ्वीम सा शिष्यत. A sober person who can tolerate the urges to speak, the mind's demand, the action of anger, and the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals is qualified to make disciple all over the world. In this verse, Rupa Goswami mentions six pushings, vegam. This pushing is a kind of impetus. For instance, when nature calls, we have to go to toilet. If we cannot check this urge, so this urge is called vegam, is a kind of pushing. According to Rupa Goswami, there are six vegams. Vachovegam is the urge to talk unnecessary. This is a kind of pushing of the tongue. Then there is a Krodvegam, the urge to become angry. When we are pushed to anger, we cannot check ourselves, and sometimes men become so angry that they commit murder. Similarly, the mind is pushing, irritating. You must go there at once. We immediately go there where we are told. The word Jiva Vegam refers to the tongue's being urged to taste palatable foods. Dhara Vegam refers to the urges of the belly. Although the belly is full, it still wants more food. And that is the kind of pushing of the belly. And when we yield to the pushing of the tongue and the belly, the urges of the genitals become very strong and sex is required. If one does not control his mind or his tongue, how can he control his genitals? In this way, there are so many pushings, so much so that the body is kind of pushing machine. Rupa Goswami therefore tells us that one can become a spiritual master only when he control all these urges. एतान वेगान यो विशखते धीरा sarvam api mam prithvim sa shishyat. One who can control the pushing and remain steady can make disciple all over the world. The word dhira means steady, sober. Only one who is dhira is qualified to make disciples. This all depends on one's training. Indeed, yoga means training the mind and the senses to be fixed on the self. This is not possible by meditating only 15 minutes a day and then going out and doing whatever the senses dictate. How can the problems of life be solved so cheaply? If we want something precious, we have to pay for it. By the grace of Lord Chaitanya, this payment has been made very easy. Just chant Hare Krishna. By our chanting, the system of control, this yoga system become perfected. Iha Haita Sarva Siddhi Haibe Tomara. Thus, Lord Chaitanya has blessed us. Simply by chanting Hare Krishna, we will achieve the perfection of self realization. In this age of Kali Yuga, when people are so fallen, other process will not be successful. This is the only process, and it is easy, sublime, effective, and practical. But by it, one can realize oneself. According to Krishna in the ninth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the process is the most sublime. Rajvidya Rajguhyam Pavitram Idam Utmam Pratyakshvagamam Dharmayam Shusha Sukham Kartum Avyayam. This knowledge is the kind of education, the most secret of all secret. It is the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self by realization. It is the perfection of religion. It is everlasting, it is joyfully performed. After eating, a man can understand that his hunger has been satisfied. Similarly, by following the principle of Krishna consciousness, one can understand that he is advanced in self realization. Chapter 6 Haripol.